Hey guys, so we're getting towards the end of summer holidays in Japan, and of course as we talk to different people, friends and family and all sorts of people around us, neighbours and everybody, we often ask, what you've been doing during your summer holidays. And it's sort of sad. It's always the same. It's always the same. The New Year holidays and summer holidays are pretty much the same. The adults usually only get a few days or maybe a week holiday, and for the summer holidays the school kids get about a month, and the university students get more. They might get 6 weeks or 7 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks. It depends on what school they go to and what university they go to, what college they go to, and that sort of thing. But that's sort of average. But it's just sort of sad. You ask, particularly the kids, you ask the kids, the high school kids, what did you do during your holidays? What have you been doing during your holidays? And the answers are always the same. They say Juku is usually the first answer, because most of them go to Juku. They have the Juku, the private schools. You guys probably have already seen the video about Juku. The Jukus are the sort of, they translate it into English as cram school, but I don't know what's that mean in English. It's sort of where kids go to do study and homework and get extra classes, and usually they do it after school and on weekends. But during the holidays, the Juku run special classes and just fill the school up, fill the Juku up with kids, basically. So there goes a school kid going the other way on a bike, right? So she'll have either been to school and gone to club. That's the other answer they give you. They say, what have you been doing? Oh, I've been going to Juku. What else have you been doing? I've been going to club. And club is usually a club related to the school, and it's either going to be a sports club, so it might be swimming or volleyball or soccer or baseball or something, or it could be music. They could be in a band at school or something like that, and they might go there 2, 3, 4 times a week to do that. So all through the holidays, from the beginning of holidays to the end, we just saw a girl go past on a bike down in a school uniform. But pretty well anywhere you go, 365 days a year, you will see kids walking around in school uniforms, because it just doesn't stop. The Juku don't stop. The club activities at the school don't stop. So it's just sort of constant, and so they're either studying or doing homework or going to club at the school, and that's pretty much it. During these summer holidays, it's also Obon, which is sort of a thing. Those of you who haven't heard about it before, it's supposed to be that the ancestors come, and so it's Obon festival. So they have dancing and things at the beginning of the week, and the idea is that you're welcoming the ancestors, and the ancestors stay for a week and then they leave again, right? The spirits of the ancestors. So one of the things that there's a few things that they do for Obon, and one of the things is that they'll go home to their family home. So they usually go to the grandparents' house or some family member's house and have a big gathering of family members. So it's sort of nice from that point of view. It's sort of nice that all the family members get together, and quite often they'll either sit around a big table in the house and have Obon sort of meal together, or they might go outside and have a barbecue. And that's the other thing we'll sometimes hear. What did you do during your holidays? Oh, I went to my grandmother's house. And so if the grandmother or grandfather lives locally, then they've just gone to the grandmother's house or grandfather's house and had lunch or had a barbecue. Or if the grandparents live in another city or further away, sometimes the family have moved here from somewhere else, and then they might have to drive, for a few hours to get to the grandparents' house. Or, we know people in central Japan who have relatives down in Kyushu, so they have to fly down to Kyushu to go down and see the family down there, or they'll drive. But again, the working parents usually only have either a few days. Some will only have 3 days maybe, or a week at the most. That's about the most that they'll have. So usually they spend the parents spend that time going to do the Obon thing with the family. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's the occasional exception where someone's done something interesting. You know, they've travelled to somewhere and done something interesting. But really, those answers, if you ask anybody, you know, we're just about at the last week for most of the school kids. Are in their last week of their holidays, and university students might have another week or two left. And the adults it's sort of long gone. Really, they've only had their few days and they're back at work again. And inevitably, you know, if you ask them what did you do during your summer holidays, that'll be the three answers. The high school students will say juku and club activities at the school, and maybe went and had a barbecue at the grandparents' house. And that's about it. You know, there's occasional exceptions where they've gone somewhere. Oh, I met my friends in the city and we went shopping, or I met my friends, you know, at the family restaurant and we had lunch or something. But that's the exception. That's not usually the case. It's sort of sad. It's sort of like Japanese society is so geared towards working and studying and you know, gambadoing, as we've talked about before, you know, suffering and hardship and going hard, and everybody's really good at doing that, at really working hard and, you know, doing their best and all that sort of thing. But they're not. They don't spend much time thinking about leisure activities or planning generally, or planning leisure activities. I mean, there are exceptions. You know, we will see people, you know, out on the beach here or doing other things. And of course, there are some people, usually people who have a bit of money, will sometimes go to Hawaii for a few days, or, you know, go somewhere else for a few days, pop over to South Korea for a few days or something. But they're the exception. It's sort of refreshing when you do find somebody who's actually done something interesting. It's actually a refreshing change, because most of the time, you know, you speak to 10 people in a day, there's a pretty good chance that all 10 of them will tell you the same thing. You know, what did you do during your summer holidays? Oh, barbecue at the grandparents' house, and that's about it, you know. And from the working people, that's sort of not terribly surprising because they don't have a lot of time, but it's just tragic from the kids. You know, the high school kids they've had all that time, and all they've basically done is just kept going to school and juku, and just like there's no holiday at all, really. The other one we get, of course, usually from the younger kids, is that they spend a lot of time playing games. So, you know, they're on the Nintendo, or they're playing Wii or something like that. There's a bit of that goes on, of course, but that's about it, you know. So when you compare it to, you know, a lot of countries, when we have summer holidays, you know, that's usually the opportunity to have your big holiday of the year, isn't it, and really do something really good. But they just don't sort of do that, and there's not sort of there's just something about the culture here that it's almost like it's lazy. If you spend time thinking about leisure activities or planning leisure activities or doing leisure activities, it's just sort of, I think people sort of just about feel guilty about it, because it's just sort of not what people do. You know, in a lot of cultures, people will proudly tell you, oh, we went to the beach for 2 weeks and spent 2 weeks just lazing around on the beach. It was wonderful, you know, and that's sort of, in a lot of societies, we appreciate the value in that, you know, they're go off and having a good holiday and a relaxation and a recharge sort of thing. Whereas here, it's almost like people feel guilty, and would feel guilty if they did that. You know, it's, you got to keep trying, you got to keep studying, you got to keep working hard, you know, even during your holidays. It's sort of sad. It is sort of sad. So this video was actually going to be an interview video, and then in the end just decided that we couldn't do it to people. Sit there and set the camera up and say, so what did you do during your holidays, and have everybody say the same thing. You know, I went to juku, I went to club. Did you do anything else? I went to grandparents' house for Olborn, and that's about it. You know, it's really sad, really, really sad. I mean, from our point of view, you know, you ask them, you know, have you had a good holiday? Yeah, you know, they don't know any different. So, you know, they've always done that. The school students do that every summer, and that's just what they do, and everybody they know is doing it as well. So, and there's a certain social aspect to the juku, as we've talked about in previous videos. Quite often at the juku, they're pretending to be there studying and doing homework and stuff. In actual fact, quite often they're sitting there on their smartphones and talking to each other and and that sort of thing. So there is a certain social aspect, and if you ask them if they like Juku, most of them will say yes, because the Juku are actually, as well as being an educational facility, they're actually a business, and the students, as well as being students, are actually customers. So the Juku sort of make sure that being there is a pleasant experience for the kids, because they know if the kids don't like it there, they'll lose students and they'll lose customers, won't they? So they usually, you know, the teachers in there are usually just university students, and so the kids can pretty much do what they want. They can sit there on the smartphone all day if they want to, and they often do, apparently. So that's often the only sort of social experience they'll get during their holidays. But it's just something, it sort of lacks creativity. I think that's one of the saddest things about it when you talk to the people here about what they do during their holidays. It just really lacks creativity. It's really rare to hear somebody say anything that surprises you. You know, you know, in some countries people come up with all sorts of things. What did you do? I went and climbed a mountain, or I went kayaking, or you know, that people come up with all sorts of things during their summer holidays, don't they? Whereas here, you're rarely surprised, because you hear the same answers every time, and it's sort of sad. And it sort of seems that this is sort of an example of when it comes to doing things, the lack of creativity or individuality in what people do. You know, I remember we used to do all sorts of things when we were teenagers during our holidays. You know, we came up with all sorts of things to do, all sorts of places to go and things to do, and you know, with our families and without our families, just with our friends. And I think that's pretty normal in most countries, isn't it? But here it's just everybody's programmed just to study and go to Juku and go to school and go to club, you know, and you see them every day. Our neighbours, kids riding past on their bikes in their uniforms every day during the summer holidays. It just doesn't, the routine doesn't seem to change much. You know, they're backwards and forwards in their school uniforms on their bikes, just like they are the other 364 days of the year, you know. It's just sort of something sort of sad about it, but anyway, it's just a thing. Again, this is one of those videos, just, you know, for those of you who might come to Japan, this is what you'll see come during summer holidays or winter holidays, and you'll be wondering why everybody's getting rid of their school uniforms, and this is why. They're going to club and they're going to Juku and they're just going about their normal stuff. So there it was. More videos coming soon.